Hi there, and thanks so much for joining me for another tutorial. My name is Erin Eno, and today I'm going to show you how to paint these pretty watercolor Christmas cards. They're quick and simple to do, so they are perfect for the last minute Christmas rush. So grab your paints and let's get started. Okay, so what do we need to do these cards? We will need our usual watercolor supplies, which would be your paper. I'm using my Arches cold press watercolor paper. It's 100% cotton, 140 pounds. I'm using my Van Gogh paints. You're going to need your jar of water and a paper towel and brushes. I have a Princeton snap in a size 12 round, a size 4 round, and a Curry's brush in a size 10 round. You're also going to need a bristly kind of brush, a beat up old bristly brush. Okay, so if you don't have one of these lying around, like an old craft brush or something, just grab something from the dollar store and just make sure it's got stiff bristles. You could even just cut them off to make them shorter and more bristly. Okay, so that's that crazy brush. You're going to need a pencil and an eraser, of course. Oh, and a ruler. And for the lettering, I've used a Sharpie and a silver metallic gel pen. You could also use silver metallic paint if you don't have a gel pen. Okay, so, oh, and some double-sided tape. I forgot to mention that I used rubbing alcohol for one of the cards, but it is optional. You are also going to need a blank card to put your artwork on. These are available on Amazon, and the finished card measures 5 by 7. So I've trimmed this down to 4.5, 6.5. So I get a 1/4 inch of the craft card showing all the way around when I'm done. Okay, so I think that's everything you need, and we can start painting. Okay, so for our first card, I'm going to take a mixture of carmine, and it has a little bit of quinacridone rose in it. And I'm just going to draw a line straight up the center. That will be the center of our tree. Okay, and then I'm going to start putting in some branches. I'm just doing kind of wiggly, kind of squiggly lines, using the belly of my brush, not just the tip, just so it doesn't take so long. Okay, and then I'm going to take my stiff bristly brush, and it's just slightly damp, and I'm going to tap it into this pigment and tap it once onto my paper towel. And then I'm just going to start kind of stippling in the edges of the branches, just like that. Okay. It's a nice fat tree. And then we're going to put a purple tree on either side of this. So I've got a mixture of carmine with ultramarine deep. That's going to be our purple tree. Okay, and same thing, I'm going to draw, I should actually do this one first, so my hand's not right in the wettest part. Okay, and we're going to do the branches again. I'm going to do the other purple tree while my brush has all the purple on it. So again, a line up the center, just like that. We'll put our branches in. And then the same thing, we're going to go to that bristly brush just clean it off a bit, get most of the water off, and just tap it into this purple. And then tap it once on my paper towel and start putting in some bristly edges on this tree. Now we're going to go back to the pink tree, and we're going to take the bristly brush. I'm just going to clean off the purple, and we're going to tap into this carmine mixture again, and we're just going to start tapping in some deeper areas on this tree. La la la. It's just kind of therapeutic doing this. And then we're going to go and layer on even more. Just to the inside of the tree, not right to the edges this time. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing to the purple. Okay, so now I'm going to go and, while I've still got the purple on my brush, I'm going to go in and get just a little bit of black, okay, and just over here, oh, a little bit of black. That's a lot of black. I didn't want that much. So I'm just going to mix up a little bit of purple with black here in this one corner, okay. Then I'm going to go in with my bristly brush again and just tap just closer to the center this time. Actually, it's running out of the black. And same on this guy here. And then the same with the pink one, or the red one. Okay, I'm just going to take my brush, tap it into the black, and just get a nice deep shade for the red tree. That's a little black. I don't want that much. There we go. Just tapping it in. Just like that. And that's done. Now what I want to do is I want to get a little bit of that first purple color, okay, and I'm just going to run a line along the bottom, just like a rough line, okay, on both purple trees. And then do the same thing on the red tree. I'm just doing this because it had dried and I want to kind of have it run down a bit. Okay, so I'm going to take my number 10 brush, and in clean water now, I'm just going to drag it along the bottom of where we just put this fresh paint, just like that, and blend it into the other trees. And I'm going to rinse and dry off my brush and just kind of soften it up here, just like that. Then I'm going to drag this down. just so it stays soft. Okay, and if you're going to get a hard edge somewhere, just rinse off your brush, tap it off on your paper towel, and soften up any hard edges that might be starting to form. And then we're going to let that dry. I'm actually going to speed it up with my heat tool. Okay, so now that it's dry, I'm going to go in with my number 4 brush and my Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. And I'm just going to mix a little bit of this in my lid here. I don't want this too watery, but I don't want it to full strength either. So it's just kind of a creamy consistency. And we're going to go in and just start tapping on some snow. Probably could have used a smaller brush. Now, I think that maybe this tree is a little narrow because it's a little narrower than the other two. So I'm just going to take my bristly brush again, just go into that purple, tap it off my paper towel, and just kind of do some more out here just to make it a little bit wider. It doesn't come out quite as much as the other trees. So there, that's better. And I can also just go put some more white in there. It's thick enough that it won't bleed this out, hopefully. Okay, so there are our trees. We'll let those dry and we will put some lettering on. Okay, so for the lettering, I just want to write Merry Christmas across the bottom. So I'm just going to draw in a straight line, just lightly. Whoops. Okay, then I want it to just be kind of modern-ish, spaced apart, and I'm just gonna, it's just gonna be written, nothing fancy. So now that I've got it penciled in, it's reasonably centered and spaced correctly. And I'm just going to go over it with a black Sharpie. And it's going to go right off the edge. Once that's dry, we can erase the pencil lines. Sharpies are pretty good. They dry reasonably quick. Okay, so this one's all ready to be applied to our card stock. Okay, so for this next card, we want to mark where the center is. And it is 4.5 inches, so it's 2 1/4 inches to the center. Okay, and then I just want to mark where I want the bottom of my tree. And I'm just going to do it the depth of the ruler. I'm just going to draw a line across. And I'm going to bring this line down a little bit, just to where I want the top of the tree, about there. Okay, and I'm going to take some washi tape and I'm going to put a strip across the bottom where I've drawn that line for the base of the tree. Okay, like that's a little crooked. Oh, it's not bad. It's good enough. Then I'm going to do 2 strips up for the sides of the tree. So I'm just going to take my tape and put it to the very corner edge here, okay, where that would be, and then bring up the inside edge to line up with that mark where I've marked the center. Just like that. And same thing on the other side. Okay, so like I say, what I did was put the outside edge of the tape here and then pivot it up so the inside goes to that top point. Then I have to decide if that's maybe too big. I'm just wondering if I should make it a little shorter. Okay, so I'm gonna just put a piece of tape here just to see if making it a little bit shorter is more along the lines of the size I want, and I think that is. I just want to make sure this is down firmly so we don't get any leaks. So I'm just going to kind of burnish it with my thumbnail, just like that. Get rid of all this other nonsense. Get that out of my way. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take what would normally be clean water. My water's not clean. It's got a bit of a blue tinge to it, but that's okay because our tree is going to be kind of bluish. And I'm just going to wet the whole area. Just make sure you've got everything wet. Okay, just like that. And I can just tilt it up to make sure everything's covered. It's a little wet near the tape, but that's okay. So nothing's pooling, but it is good and wet. Hopefully you can see that. So now I'm going to go in with some straight Viridian, which is like a nice bluish green. Do a little bit more. And I'm just going to start tapping it in anywhere, just playing around, okay? This is like, you know, you can't go wrong here. But you don't want it really watered down. You want to make sure it's got a fair amount of pigment on your brush. Just like that. Because this will be, it will be lighter in the end once it's all dry. But we definitely want it wet enough so that it does all these funky bleeds. Now I'm going to clean off my brush and I'm going to go over and get some straight indigo. Okay, and again, my brush is pretty wet and we're just going to tap that in now. And just let it bleed everywhere it wants to bleed. Just like that. So I'm going to let that sit and bleed out for a little bit. because we don't want any white showing. So you can kind of just move it around and play around with a bit. Okay, so now that you've got that, you can just let it sit and bleed out. If you don't have alcohol, you can just leave it as is and let it bleed out. That's fine. But I'm just going to show you what happens when you do use the alcohol. So you want it still wet, okay? And it's quite wet, you can see, all right? But it's nice and evenly wet, okay? It's not pooling. And I'm going to take my rubbing alcohol. I believe mine's 90, I want to say 91 or 92%. You can even try it maybe with vodka, but I think the higher proof alcohol, the better. Okay, so it has less water in it. So while it's got that nice even sheen to it, I'm going to move my paints actually, because alcohol does kind of funky things to your paint. And you might have to do some tests depending on the mist of your bottle that you're using, and just spritz it on, and it does that weird kind of effect, just like that. And you're just going to let that sit now and do its thing and let it dry. Okay, so as it dries, you can see how it does this kind of funky modeling effect. It's kind of cool. I don't have to wait till it completely dries to take the tape off. So I'm going to take the tape off. And it didn't bleed anywhere, which is awesome. And we're left with our funky little tree. Okay, so now we're ready to do our lettering. I'm not quite sure what I want to do here. I think I will just kind of have it follow the width of the tree rather than go right across the page. And I'm going to draw a line just underneath the tree. Just like that. And then I will write in Merry Christmas. And I think that's probably pretty good. So now I'm going to take my silver gel pen and just go over the lettering. Just like that. And we won't erase the pencil line until that gel pen is completely dry. And we're going to wait until the tree is completely dry. I'm going to speed it up with my heat tool. Okay, so that's good and dry. I'm going to erase all the pencil lines now. Now, the gel pen isn't showing up as much as I would like on the lettering, so I'm just going to give it a kind of a faux calligraphy look by just thickening up the downstrokes on the letters. I don't want to make them too clunky though. So now that this is dry, you can see that it's quite a bit lighter, okay? And also you can see the kind of modeling effect. This was a little too wet in these areas, so it didn't take the effect as much as I would have liked, but it'll do. So now I'm going to take my gel pen and I'm going to just do kind of garland down the tree. Now you can use silver paint, silver metallic paint if you want. I just find this is just a little easier to control, just like that. And I'm going to alternate the curve direction. Okay, so now we're going to finish it off with some little ornaments, and they can go off the edge of the tree just so they're just not all, you know, full circles. They don't have to be full baubles. Okay, so now that the tree has all its baubles on it, we can take our cards and put them on the card stock. And here are the finished cards. I am actually quite happy with them. They're very simple. Any beginner can do them. I'm just going to tuck them under here so it stays folded. I hope the Merry Christmas is picking up on camera okay for you. So that's it for this tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it and that you found it helpful and that you will maybe try these yourself. And if you do and you're on Instagram, please be sure to share and tag me so I can have a look. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to be filming more beginner-friendly tutorials, so I'd love to have you join me. So that's it for today, guys. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.